Could I ask you one more?
Yes.
I got it when you said it's not your responsibility to take care of somebody else. I have a son that has been a drug addict longer than he's been not a drug addict, and he's close to 50. And I never know if he's telling me the truth or not. So I don't know exactly what his situation is, but it seems like he self-sabotages himself constantly. And I just want some peace of mind around that. Is he going to be okay? Or is he going to end up in prison? Or is he going to kill himself?
We want you to know, and we think that you already know, that whether any of those scenarios that you just described plays out, he is okay. Now, we know that as a mother, it is very difficult to go through this experience with your child. And it is one thing to tell your little brother you're going to have to pay your own property taxes, but it is harder to cut those cords when it is your child. But we want you to know that well-being abounds, and he will eventually find his. He will eventually experience it. And we would encourage you to focus on the well-being that you know that exists for him. And let go of all of the scenarios that you've created in your mind about where he might end up or how things might play out for him. Because we talked earlier about all of you came into this experience, into this physical experience, to experience the contrast. And some of us more than others. Some of us came to really experience the contrast and, you know, even create more contrast for ourselves than really was necessary. But we want you to know that God does hold him in loving arms. And the more you can focus on that, and the less you focus on these stories that you create about, you know, his fate, the easier it will be for you to let him play out his own life the way he has decided to play it out. And we know how difficult that is for our physical friends to do when they see loved ones suffering, and especially when it's their children. But just like a house does not belong to you, your children do not belong to you either. And we know that it is a privilege to have them come into your life and have the opportunity to take care of them. But it's not your fault when they choose a path that seems destructive. It's not your doing. It's not that you did something wrong. It's because they are their own person. They came here to experience what they're experiencing. And our physical friends who have gone down the road of addiction and all of the pain that it brings, some of them come to a point where they say enough. And they've been in that track. We talked about being on the track of being in pain or being a victim or whatever. And so if they're in that track of addiction, sometimes our physical friends will say enough, and they'll look for another way. And they'll reach out for help. And that's the only time that really any help you offer is going to be heard or accepted. And so if it's just that they are going to stay in that track of addiction and pain until this physical experience ends for them, we hope that you can let go of the guilt that you feel and let go of the responsibility that you feel towards your loved ones that have chosen that track and have not gotten to the point where they're saying enough of the pain. Because you know that it's their decision. It's their choice when to say that they've had enough. All of you who are parents, we encourage you to, every time you notice yourself going down that path of creating scenarios of, the scary scenarios of what could happen to your children, because we know you all do it or have done it. Whenever you notice yourself going into that mode of, you see what track they're on and you know where it's headed, we want to, for that to become like a signal for you, for that to become, when you notice yourself going down that path of creating those awful scenarios, let that be kind of a sign for you to remind you, a reminder, that's the word, reminder for you to go back to the image of your child being in God's loving arms. And we'll go back to what we said before about being on the right track. Whatever track your child is on is the right track for them. And even if it's not the track that you would have chosen, and even if it's a track that you know is causing them terrible pain and causing you terrible pain, it is all part of the divine plan. Now, the ultimate divine plan is joy and love and peace. So if that child is on that track of pain and not experiencing much love and joy and peace, and if they don't choose to get onto a new track in this lifetime, know that it's still part of the divine plan, and that in their next lifetime they will be in a place where they probably will be ready to find a new way.
That breaks my heart to think that he will stay on this path.